Okay, so we have our limiter and then we have our meter here. There's a couple extra additional things that you can do here to clean it up. You can do some subtractive EQ. I don't really like to do it a lot. I find that you should do a lot of that mixing. A lot of that work should be done, in my opinion. This is not a rule or anything. It's just the way my workflow is. I like to do all that kind of mixing in here. And then when I get to the mastering stage, I don't like to do subtractive EQ a lot. Just sometimes I find that if you try to get rid of resonating frequencies, that you lose a lot of the characteristics of certain sounds because you're getting rid of you're adjusting the entire summed signal here in a master chain rather than adjusting every little individual element by itself here. So for the sake of teaching, we're going to show you anyways though. So I can add in some subtractive EQ wherever I want, and then we can just go ahead and use EQ8 for this. It's easy to do. Simply throw it on, let's say right here, right before the limiter. And I'm going to turn all these off. Now with EQ8, versus using FabFilter or another type of EQ, I find it's a little bit more tricky because you only get 8 to choose from. So if you have 8 frequencies that are bugging you and you have to get rid of them, and there's more than that, you're kind of out of luck. So let's go ahead and turn this on. We're going to use it as a notch filter. Adjust the accordingly. Okay, so it's easy. Actually, sorry, I got the wrong one. Okay, so we're going to use a bell curve here on the EQ. And then we're going to turn the Q all the way up. And then now we're going to turn this on, and then you basically sweep through your track like that. When you hear a really screechy, high-pitched frequency that's really irking your ear, that's a resonating frequency that you want to get rid of. And then once you find that resonating frequency, reverse the gain like so, and then that's how you get rid of it. So let's take a listen. Like you can hear it like right. Okay, especially on the fill. So you can hear on the fill, if you have headphones on, this is gonna be a lot easier to hear, that it's really high pitched and it doesn't sit well in the ear. So you would simply get rid of it and then move on to the next one. Same thing, adjust the gain, adjust the Q, and then listen again. That one, actually, there's one right there that actually needs adjusting. So there's another one. And then you basically just do this throughout all 8, if you have 8 to go through. And then let's do the same thing. Okay, so then sweep through. So that's how you do subtractive EQ. I mean, this is specifically getting rid of resonating frequencies, but technically it's subtractive EQ because you're subtracting from the frequency. You're taking away from the sound versus adding to the sound. That's additive EQ. So it's the same principles involved. It's just we're using it in different capacities here. So there are plugins that actually do this for you if you wanted to use one instead of doing that from an EQ. You can use one that is actually really popular called Soothe by Oeksound. Oeksound. I don't know how to pronounce it. Sorry. And it does the same exact thing. It's meant for vocals, but it works really well on the actual final master. And this is the main parameter you kind of mess with here, the depth. And it just takes away the de-essing, or it takes away like super high frequencies. Now, obviously, that's a little bit exaggerated. You don't want to do that one. You want to use the soft setting, and then I find about halfway is usually pretty good. Now, this is the tricky part. You have to mix around, or you have to mess around with it for a little bit, because the idea is to get rid of the high end, the sibilants, the super high resonating frequencies that are really not enjoyable to listen to, and it makes your track sound a little bit overall too bright. This cleans it up, especially when you turn it up at a loud level. When you're cranking the track, if your track has too much high end frequencies in it, it's not going to sound good. It's going to sound bright when it's loud, but you want the low end to kind of be the emphasis when it's cranked up. Sometimes when they have it way too high on the high end, it's not pleasant to the ear, especially with a loud lead like the one we have. And then you adjust this accordingly. So basically, you look at this this readout here, and the dips that you see really low here, you counteract that with your adjustment here on your EQ. So you can hear the difference. Like, so when I bring it up, there's some presets we can actually use from here. Maybe not. Are there? Maybe there's. Yeah, I don't think there is. So, but it's not really complicated to use. It's a simple plugin that does a really good job of doing exactly what I was showing you earlier. Is that you're just getting rid of those high end little peaks that kind of just sound not fun when you're listening to something at a really loud level, and that's kind of basically it. You just kind of go through it now, and once you have your master rack set up, it's just a matter of listening to the track. Oh, I mean, this is where it gets repetitive and kind of redundant, because you have to listen to your track over and over and over and over, and it can get tedious. But if you want your track at the end of the day to sound the best it can, you have to do this. So it's similar to how a potter's wheel. He uses his foot to spin the wheel, and then while the piece of clay is spinning and spinning and spinning, he uses his hands and his tools to mold that clay into something that is the final result. you're doing the same thing with audio. You're looping the track, and then while it's playing and looping, you're just using your tools, your digital tools, to mold the sound, the overall sound, into the idea that you're going for, as far as levels and crispiness and how the overall track is going to respond, sonically speaking.